Factor 8. It is Ted Martin. He is their chief revenue officer over there, and he's going to help us talk a little bit about what's going on with keeping people on the ranch. Ted, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, Dooner, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see you. You know, it's interesting because, you know the hiring market's robust when you start hearing buzz terms coming in, like elective turnover, which, in my opinion, probably just means people saying they're going to quit, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly.
What are you seeing around that? Are people quitting, or are people getting scared? We've heard a lot of news recently. The Amazons of the world, the Flexports of the world, releasing a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. What we found a lot in our research is that a lot of this has to do with in the tech space where they completely overhired. And I'm not going to get into any type of stock advice from the past or anything like that. But we've done a lot of research over the past year, and some of the things that we found is that the idea from a sales and marketing leader's perspective is that it's all a financial decision as to how people make decisions on where they want to stay with their employment. And believe it or not, that's not the case.
Yeah, see, I was a sales rep, right? And I've been fired as a sales rep, and I've quit as a sales rep. So I'm a little familiar with how that goes. I know why I left my companies. One of them was because I didn't really like the manager that much. And also, I could see my fate. I knew within 2 months, like, it wasn't going to look good for me anyway. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. First, not liking your manager is still number one. So that's not going to get away. But the next piece is pretty interesting, especially after COVID. So, with our organization, we talk to supply chain, freight, transportation leaders, sales leaders all the time. And what has transitioned due to COVID is this, believe it or not, desire around quality of life, and also the belief in what it is that you're doing. And so this mindset of, being compensated or going where the highest buck is, kind of like that mercenary type approach, where back in the day, we probably would have gone for, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 more. Now what people are looking for is more internal development, career path, as well as flexibility in their work. And so, but the number one thing in our, we surveyed about thousands of brokers and other sales reps. And what 70% of those folks told us is that employee development and career pathing was their number one reason why they were either going to stay with their organization or why they left the organization that they were formerly with.
It's important to get ahead on this topic. And, if you notice during COVID, right, it caused a little bit of toxicity in some environments, too, because you'd have people who were there for a while. They're sticking with the company through the beginning of this COVID time. Now they're out there doing hiring sprees. And you're a rep and you're hearing about they just brought in some greenhorn and he's making $15,000 more than me. That doesn't fly, right? How do you stay ahead on this?
So I think just going back to the concept that I mentioned before around developing your people and showing the development around, where they can go. The mindset of being able to take your career to the next level is different now. Before it was like, okay, I want this next title. I want to be promoted into this next role. But what humans started to realize was that if I go into that next role, am I going to know how to do it before I get there? And so the idea of skill development or strategy development and understanding how to do that is so important. And remember, when COVID hit, a lot of organizations went through layoffs, but then there was a turn where people started hiring back. And so if you as an employer want to be an attractive either organization where you're holding on to your talent, or when you're ready to start hiring back, if you want to be an attractive employer, showing someone a career path of how you're going to develop them over their first 18 months, that might allow you to compete with organizations that might be providing a $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 more salary than what you're able to provide as an organization.
And that's from the HR perspective. What about from the, our listeners, the manager perspective, right? How do they get ahead on this? How do they understand how to communicate what is going on in this environment to their employees?
So a couple of things. I think the first thing, and this happens with all active communication, is listen. So be able to actually hear and ask your employees what they care about. Some of your folks that have been with you for 10, 15, 20 years, they probably aren't going to care about career development or career pathing. But some of the folks that you've had over the past 5 years or even less, they may care about it. So first, ask questions and understand what your folks care about. And then from there, just start putting pen to paper. Bring in some of your most influential reps, some of your most influential managers, and start mapping out what could a potential career path look like? What could we educate our folks on outside of just our industry or our competition? But how can we truly help elevate the skills of the people that we have internally? And I think that's where I would start personally. I mean, in my career, I've built over 15 different revenue teams across multiple industries, and that's the way I did it. So.
Well, Ted, our speed date is almost over. Any last words that you would like the audience out here to know about?
No, I think the one thing is around this idea. I call it the compensation myth, right? The idea that you have to pay more to get top talent. It doesn't have to be that way. The idea of being able, the right types of brokers are going to come to you, and you're going to be able to say, yes, maybe this organization's going to provide you with $5,000 or $10,000 more in overall compensation, but the learning and development opportunity that you're going to have, as well as the financial success that you're going to be able to have, is going to be far more impressionable to the right types of candidates. And if you can show them what an 18-month or 2-year development program might look like, even if it's just a basic type out, I think that will definitely set you apart, as well as it sets our clients apart in how they differentiate themselves from the market.
Well, hey, Ted, really cool. So people want to connect with you. Where do I send them to?
Yeah, so just send them to factor8.com, as well as you can look me up on LinkedIn, Ted Martin, and it's Factor 8.